We're glad that everyone continues to stay with us and join us for our second panel this morning. And as we discussed before, our region is really in a growth pattern, especially in the financial services industry. This region has many banks, insurance, and investment firms with a significant presence of jobs here in Northeast Florida. And those jobs represent a wide variety of areas, including cybersecurity, software development, data analytics, banking and payment innovation, as well as traditional back office functions, insurance and investments, as well as front office services. Due to this thriving environment for financial services, coupled with the demand for technology-driven platforms, as we heard a little bit about in the first panel, services in this area are growing significantly. Jacksonville is naturally seeing a shift to fintech operations growing within our corporations and businesses in this region's finance industry. And as this industry continues to mature, further developing finance and tech talent will be top of mind for our companies here in Jacksonville. And we truly believe our region is primed to be at the forefront of creating the future of fintech talent. Because of this emergence of fintech, I am particularly excited to introduce you to our next panel today. We have wonderful representatives with us this morning. Diane Williams is joining us. She is the Human Resource Director of Talent Engagement for Black Knight, which is a leading provider of software, data, and analytics to the mortgage and real estate industries. Along with Diane, we have Denise. She is the Global Head of Talent Acquisition for CIT Group and CIT Bank. CIT is a leading national bank focused on empowering businesses and personal savers with the financial agility to navigate their goals. And also with us is Wendy, currently Head of North America Talent Acquisition and the Global Associate Development Program for FIS, a Jacksonville-based Fortune 500 company. FIS is the largest fintech company in the world based on the revenue and leader in payment processing, financial software, and banking solutions. So thank you to all of my panelists for joining us here this morning. To start off with, I'd like you each to take a little bit of time and tell us a little bit more about your organization and also the role that you play in the growth of the fintech industry here in Northeast Florida. And I'm going to start off with Diane.
Well, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and joined with my fellow panelists. As Anna mentioned, Black Knight is a software and data and analytics firm for the entire mortgage industry. So from really start to finish of the mortgage life cycle, from realtors all the way through actually servicing a mortgage. So when you look at a company like Black Knight and the technology platforms that we have, we are servicing more than 60% of first mortgages. Top 24 of mortgage services are on our platform. 20 of the top 25 mortgage originators on our platform. So with all of that, we are processing 12 billion web service transactions in the mortgage industry every year. So certainly it goes without saying that students in the fintech realm and people coming into careers in fintech is so incredibly important to us. So in my role as HR Director of Talent Engagement, I'm kind of split into two areas. One is with internal talent and making sure that our employees are growing, developing, learning new skills, being mentored by senior people, and really just looking at ways to engage everyone, ensuring that we have strong diversity and inclusion. And then on the other side, my role focuses externally. And so looking at the areas and where we do business and how can we engage with people so that they understand how strong of a career path fintech is and what just really the breadth of opportunities within our industry. And so we have things like our Women in IT program, which actually starts with 7th grade girls and speaking to them about the overwhelming opportunities for them, and maybe breaking some stereotypes about what it means to be in technology. And you know, looking at college students and offering a very robust intern program, and even people who are looking to transition from one career into technology, how can we engage with them and help them start on their career path?
Diane, thank you very much for that. Now I'm gonna flip it to Denise. Denise, we're having some audio problems at the moment.
How about Anna? How about now?
There you are. We can hear you now.
Good morning.
Perfect.
Sorry about that. Thank you for having me as well. CIT has traditionally been a commercial finance organization that has been around for well over 100 years. The fintech side of it came primarily through acquisition of, we acquired a small fintech in the Northeast and then a retail bank out West. And how that has evolved is we really offer, it's in 2 buckets. On the retail side, it's offering the customers ways in order for them to utilize the different technology platforms through their personal banking. And then on the commercial side, it would be offering unique and different types of finance opportunities for businesses. So how we're leveraging that in the north or in the south, or sorry, southeast, sorry, I'm all over the globe today, is what we've noticed is we've had to really grow a lot of talent internally. So as the head of talent acquisition for CIT, it's one large part of my job is to find different types of sourcing opportunities for us to continue to grow the talent and import it if we have to. We find that Jacksonville is an amazing place where that the talent it's often a surprise as we bring things from different locations that traditionally have not sat here. So we are always looking for new and innovative ways in order to continue that growth for CIT in Jacksonville.
Thank you, Denise. And then next, Wendy.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me today. FIS is actually headquartered in Jacksonville. We have over 55,000 employees spread out over 52 countries. We really focus on retail and institutional banking, payments, assets and wealth management, risk and compliance, and a variety of different outsourcing solutions for our customers. We're very excited. We're actually breaking ground next year for a new global headquarters in Jacksonville that's going to add even more jobs to that particular area. So very excited about that. As Director of Talent Acquisition for North America, my team is responsible for all of the regular hiring for the positions across the country. And that's everything from business analysts to project managers, IT architects, really you name it, we fill those positions. And then I'm also responsible for our Global Associate Development Program, which is our campus recruiting program. So for example, this last summer, we added about 300 new associates, 100 new interns, and then 200 new full-time folks that came into the company. And that's just an absolutely wonderful program that brings, the majority of those hires are recent college graduates, and it brings them in entry-level positions and really gets them familiar and gives them exposure to the fintech industry, and then also FIS as a whole.
Great, thank you as well. The three of you represent some tremendous organizations, and one of the things that resonated with me is that you all spoke about how global your organizations are. Well, so though you have operations here in Jacksonville, your reach is far beyond just our region. Now, I'll share with you one of the things as we've been talking about the growth of fintech in our region. A question that I often get is, what actually is fintech? So from your perspective, if you were to describe to our educators here what fintech is, how would you describe fintech? And Wendy, I'm going to toss it back to you to start on that one.
All right. I try and keep it, or we try and keep it pretty simple. It's really just a technology that is used to support, banking and financial functions. A lot of times when we're speaking about fintech to prospective candidates, we try and give them real world examples of some of our applications or some of our products. So we'll reference, the Starbucks mobile payment, Apple Pay, Zelle, some of those things, so they can kind of relate to it and how it would impact them on a daily basis. So we feel that's the best way to give them an introduction to fintech.
Great, thank you. Then I've been saying the right thing to my kids when I've been trying to describe it to them. Denise, how about you?
Wendy actually summarized it really well, and we try to keep it as relevant as possible. There's so many subsections of it. Everybody automatically thinks about the person that's either formulating the deals or working with the clients, but there's the back office of part of that too. It's the people who are developing it, and there's a combination of marketing and technology, not just understanding the finance side, and then and then matching that with your technology clients. So no, I like Wendy's summary really well though.
Diane, do you have any additions?
I don't think there's much to add. I think Wendy and Denise really covered it. It's just really having that understanding that technology is in our world everywhere. So no matter what industry you're in, there's technology supporting it, and just understanding that in finance it's no different. We all need technology platforms, and the world is changing every single day. Technology is changing every single day, and it's so exciting to see how we can just support that finance industry, whether it's making the world easier for clients or consumers, and each of us, we are all consumers of fintech. And so kind of having people understand that your day-to-day life is impacted by all of the innovation that's made within fintech.
Great, that was wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Now, given that, fintech is the intersection of finance and technology, tell us a little bit about what are the education paths that you look for in prospective hires for your fintech roles, and maybe a little bit more about what those fintech roles are. Denise, can I start with you?
Sure. So it's a complex question because there's so many things that that we look for, and in the past there has been such a reliance on growing your talent internally. You kind of throw people into things and help them evolve in areas, but there's a couple of things that what we're seeing, individuals that are coming out with that finance degree but combined with a technology degree, or whether it's or engineering. I mentioned the marketing. There is no way that students that are graduating in moving forward are going to get away from having a really deep knowledge of information technology. There's even just the basics of having, whether it's Python or SQL or, understanding basic programming is going to be critical for them moving forward, at least in my world.
Wendy, how about you?
Yeah, pretty much what Denise said. We do really like diverse backgrounds, so there really isn't any degree that is off limits per se. But based upon the hires that we've made in the past and the roles that we have, we primarily see folks come with finance degrees or technology degrees or business management. The technology piece is a big piece of it. Even if they don't have a technology degree, if they have some type of technical aptitude, previous experience, another role that they had, that really is a leg up for a lot of our positions and a lot of our roles.
Great, thank you. And then Diane.
Yeah, I'll certainly mirror everything that Wendy and Denise said. There are just so many different roles within technology and so many different avenues to go in. It, often thought of as, if you want to be in IT, you are going to be a coder, a developer, and there's just so much more than that. And I think what's so helpful in today's day and age with our youth, they are technology natives. They were born into so much technology. I have a 7-year-old and he knows how to use my iPhone. He doesn't have a phone of his own. Of course, he's too young, but he knows how to use all of these things, and he understands things even more than I do, just because it's been inherent in his life. And I think that's so helpful for our youth that as Wendy said, you can have a finance degree, but they're already having some technology understanding and aptitude. And I think that coming into FinTech as an industry, you can be taught some of these things that we need. And as Denise mentioned, we look to upskill our employees and continue to grow them in their careers. So you don't necessarily have to have an IT or computer science degree to be in FinTech. But, certainly having that love of technology and that aptitude for it and willingness to continue to learn. Because as I mentioned earlier, technology is constantly changing. So you almost need to be of that mindset of wanting to be a lifelong learner, so that as technology is changing, and you need to understand that we need to all keep up with that if we're going to continue to innovate for our organizations and for the industry as a whole.
Thank you so much. I think, as all of you are aware, that our region and our 2 state colleges, Florida State College at Jacksonville and St. John's River State College, were awarded a FinTech grant to help grow the talent pipeline for your industry. And part of the grant is really looking at not just your immediate, is helping with your immediate workforce needs, developing curriculum and programs that support immediate hires, but also working with our school systems to begin that pipeline. So we're looking at it from both the short-term training opportunities as well as the long-term. How do we continuously build that talent pipeline? So from that perspective, what would you tell us in terms of advice on how do we encourage people to consider this as a career path, as a true profession outside of just the finance industry, that this is much bigger than that? And I'll go back to you, Diane.
So I think one of the first things that I'll say is that oftentimes when I speak to students who are in a technology program, they're nervous, like, well, I'm not good at finance, or I never took any finance classes. I didn't need to for my major. And that's okay. You don't need to have a strong finance background to be in FinTech. Really, it's about the technology and looking at innovative ways to move the industry forward. And really, if you're in FinTech or you're doing technology in some other industry, it's always going to be interrelated. Yes, there might be some changes, but .NET is .NET. AWS is AWS. So these things that they're learning in school, it's going to translate whether they go into FinTech or some other technology area working for a non-finance services company. And so just understanding that technology is all around us, and there are so more jobs available today then there are people to fill them in technology. And that's a trend that is going to continue. We don't foresee in the near future that we're going to have too many technologists and not enough careers. So, you know, just the fact that there is that long-term career stability within anything in technology, I think is something that's really important for students to understand.
Thank you. Wendy, what would you like to add?
Again, right on with what Diane said. You know, I think just by continually gaining exposure and providing more of an understanding of what fintech is, the impact it has on our daily lives. You know, to Diane's point, even though it's technology written, not every role within a fintech company do you have to be a technology wizard. You know, there are a ton of client relationship, client services type roles that actually support the products and services that are related to fintech, or the technology behind the products and services. So if someone is really good with people, they could still be part of this industry and have a really great career and focus on what they're good at, being part of cutting edge technology and a go forward industry.
Thank you. Denise, any additions?
I think it's just we have to bust off the blinders that if you are in finance, this is only what you're going to do, or if you're in technology, or if, you know, whatever the degree is that somebody is pursuing. There's so many hybrids that are going to fit in. It's unbelievable. I think, you know, one thing we always talk about in the financial services or fintech world is that everything, someone mentioned in the last panel, the only constant is change. That's very, very true. But one thing that I think would be incredibly helpful is, one of the challenges that, I'm sure my panelists will agree with me, is even though there's always new technologies coming out, there are legacy systems that we are all embedded with, and whether we can't get rid of them for whatever reason, but people understanding those foundations are incredibly important. So I think that, you know, utilizing this grant, you know, getting students interested. I think one of the unique opportunities we have in Jacksonville is that the educational systems could actually come in, understand the systems of the, you know, their major organizations within the region, start understanding those systems specifically, and, you know, whether it's offering something on the side or, you know, partnering with a company so that there are more people that have the understanding of those platforms. I mean, that's one of the biggest challenges that I have. We utilize a system that everybody is in Minnesota. So I have to try to relocate everybody to Minnesota to utilize this, you know, to help us with this platform. So, you know, I think that it's, yes, we need to be looking forward, but we also have things that we currently are using that they need help and a fresh perspective.
Well, I'm sure that those in Minnesota would really enjoy the lifestyle that we have to offer here in Northeast Florida and Jacksonville.
Not that hard of a sell.
we welcome them to our area. Now, I'm going to pull a question that came up from, you know, our audience, because this is something that we've heard. It's been a conversation before as well. The finance industry traditionally hires the four-year college graduate. Are there other opportunities outside of having the four-year bachelor's degree for people to transition into fintech or to get entry-level positions in fintech, even if they don't have the bachelor's degree? And I see Wendy nodding, so I'm going to go to Wendy.
Sure. A lot of our positions, actually the majority of our positions, really focus on the combination of education and experience. We do have certain roles within the organization, accountants, lawyers, that type of thing, that do require a specific degree, 4 years and so on. But a lot of our roles are just a combination of that education and experience together that we really feel makes the best suited employees for the roles.
Thank you. Denise?
We don't necessarily require a four-year degree. I will say that it is usually easier for somebody to throw their hat in the ring if they do have a 4-year degree. Some of our, our best people don't have one, whether they've been able to demonstrate ahead of time through whether, a contract or some other means they were able to show their work that probably helped them get their foot in the door. I wouldn't say it's required, but I would say that it opens some the interviewers' minds a little bit more.
Okay. Diane, how about at Black Knight?
Certainly, we do have a lot of positions that require the 4-year degree, but as Wendy said, there's the hybrid where we look at education plus experience, or maybe it's just the experience. But also there are really strong 2-year degree programs that are technology focused, where you are getting enough of the training in an academic environment that you can translate that over. But with all of that said, I really can't speak more highly of having an internship, because that's giving you that real world experience, and it's being able to take what you've learned in an academic setting and really put that to play in the business world, and seeing, I learned this in school, but this is how it's really done in the work world. For Black Knight, in our intern program, we actually have students at the high school level who will join us over the summer. So, there's nothing to say that you need to be, a junior or a senior at a 4-year university to have an internship. A lot of companies are like Black Knight, where they offer those internships at those earlier stages of education. But, again, the importance of having that, because you can show that you've been in that true work environment, and you've been able to put your skills to the test and what you've learned at school, and really being able to see how that's used in our industry or any technology industry.
Well, thank you. So what I'm hearing from all of you is that, yes, education is important, but also important is really that ability to demonstrate what you've learned and transitioning or applying it in the industry as well. Great, thank you. Well, clearly, FinTech is an industry that grew out of innovation. How can we help encourage, or how can the financial services FinTech industry encourage innovation in our future workforce? Diane, you want to take that, Diane?
I think that, our future workforce, because they are those technology and digital natives, I don't know that there's so much that we need to do to help encourage that. I know that when I see our interns coming in, they're already coming in with that innovative thought process. They are already looking at ways to do things differently and to do things better. They've had that opportunity to see so much fast growth within technology that I think that innovation is already part of their mindset. They're not students who are set in the old way of doing things, or we've always done it this way before, which we sometimes hear from people who've been in the workforce for 20, 30, 40 years. So they're already coming in with that mindset. I think it's more of giving them that empowerment to share their ideas and letting them know that, we want to hear from you. We want your fresh perspective on things, and we encourage you to continue to think that way and to speak up and have that confidence to share that with someone who, maybe is more tenured, but understanding that we all need their fresh perspective.
Great, thank you. Wendy, how about from your perspective?
I think if we're talking from an industry perspective, to encourage the innovation, I would say companies need to continue making investments that support, fintech startups, making it more accessible, whether it's through the products and services to both individuals and small businesses. Again, I think that overall exposure is kind of key. I know FIS has a lot of different programs that they do, charitable and otherwise, to gain that exposure and make it be well known and give the opportunities to startups or folks that are maybe toying with the idea of getting into fintech. So I think that's critical.
Great, thank you. Denise, any additional thoughts?
No, I agree with both Diane and Wendy as well. We're in the kind of that same mindset. I think it's that it's more of the cultural change of our industry, and it's understanding and embracing them as they come. There's a setting of expectations too, that you can't you're not going to be the vice president in 2 years and things, but it's nurturing that along the way. So yeah, I agree with both.
Great, thank you. Now, we certainly know that the COVID environment has changed things for everyone. Tell us a little bit about what you feel will be the lasting impacts for you, your work environment, your cultures, and your organizations as well. Denise, you want to start?
Sure. So one of the things that CIT has always had amazing work from home capabilities anyhow. So it was one of the things that we were able to leverage right away when the pandemic hit. So but one of the things that I think it really demonstrated for financial services organizations is, there's always been this traditional sense that certain groups need to be near, the financial, epicenter of New York. And what this has demonstrated is that is definitely not necessary. Financial service companies for the last few years, we've seen it. Jacksonville has been an absolute beneficiary of that. That migration. I think you're going to see things that traditionally would never leave the Northeast are going to be migrating, and I think Jacksonville is primed to be, to receive even more of that. So I think it's taken a lot of the blinders off of what the capabilities are and where people actually have to be.
Thank you. That's an interesting and great perspective to share. Wendy, what are your thoughts?
I think it really highlighted as a company how quickly we adapted. We had to pivot very quickly because historically, although we've had some folks that worked from home, FIS was not a big work from home company. So to go from, single digit percentage of folks that work from home to, almost 100% people working from home was a huge undertaking, but also a big cultural shift for us. And I'm really proud of the way that we responded, how quickly we responded, and how effective it was. So I think it's given us a very different perspective on how efficient and effective we can be in this new world, whether we're doing this short term or long term. I think we've really demonstrated that it can be done, and it can be done quite well. So I look forward to the continued I guess improvements that we can make along those lines, and how we continue to operate in this environment.
Thank you. And Diane.
So similar to FIS, Black Knight did have a smaller percentage of employees who were working from home on a regular or consistent basis, and having to make that adjustment so quickly where 99.9% of us are now working from home. We were able to adapt to that very quickly, and that is something that we too are incredibly proud of. But I think there was also some nervousness of, are we going to maintain productivity levels? Are we going to maintain our customer satisfaction levels? And and are our implementations with new clients going to run as smoothly where we can't be on client sites and we're not in the office collaborating together in person. And what we've seen is an increase in that productivity, and that there's been absolutely no downgrade in our customer satisfaction or those new client implementations. And so what we're seeing is as we start thinking about returning to the office, whenever that may be, we now know that there are certain segments of our company where they won't be required to come back into the office. They will continue to work from home, work remotely, because it has been so successful. Where before the pandemic, we probably wouldn't have had that opportunity in those areas. So I think that's going to be one interesting change that we see, is that we will increase that work from home percentage. But I think another thing that's going to be really critical for all employers and not just FinTech is we'll need to continue to look at ways of how we keep our employees engaged. It is definitely a completely different atmosphere when you're working from home and you don't have that in-person contact with people, or your company is having an event and everyone is virtual and no one is getting together. So we'll need to continue to look at ways to make sure that all employees are feeling connected, that they're all feeling, part of, in our case, part of Black Knight, or, whatever company that they're working for, that they still feel that they're an integral part of this and they're connected to everyone else.
Great information. It sounds like too, that's one of the things that as we continue to build this talent and build this workforce, we've also need to take in consideration how they need to work in a virtual environment, because it's not that this won't happen again. It's that that's probably going to be more of a norm in the future as well. So I have one more question for you, where I'd like you to share a little bit about your own career pathway in this industry. And then as you look back on your career pathway and your experiences, what did you wish you knew about this field before you got into it? And I see smiles. I'll run to Denise to have Denise start on this one because she's smiling.
I have a health education background or degree, and never in a million years thought I would end up in the finance or FinTech world. So, one of the things that I was on a nonprofit track for a while, and then ended up getting into technology, and then I was in pharmaceutical for a little while, and then about 15 years ago landed in financial services. So it's been an interesting evolution. One of the things that I probably, if regret might be the word, or I would have changed, was to stop being intimidated or limiting myself on, that's not an organization I can work for, I can support. And recruiting is recruiting. It's people will tell you that it's, you can, if you recruit well and you can do it for one organization or one area, you can do it anywhere. But it's definitely something that we do is in the self-limiting, and we've just got to stop it. We've got to bust through that barrier and make sure that students that are coming out, that they understand that there's a tremendous amount of opportunity out there. It's not, you're going to be the one that's going to limit what you can and where you go with that. So, and one of the things that is always funny to me is that, when students are entering college, or what they'll think is, I'm going to go into human resources, or I want to be an accountant. They have no idea the layers that are within organizations. And we really appreciate the opportunity to partner with our educational partners so we can show them how different, when you hear financial services, everyone thinks wealth management. That is a very limited and narrow part of financial services in an overarching area. So we do really appreciate the opportunity to come in and introduce what we do. And it's a very unique opportunity. So we really do appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Wendy, how about your journey?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I feel like I didn't pick this industry. The industry kind of picked me. Yeah, I think Rob said earlier he studied meteorology or something like that, and what I studied is not even remotely close to this, but very happy that my journey brought me here. This industry is far more robust and broad than I would have ever imagined even when I first got into it. So when I think of advice to folks that are just starting out their career, a little similar to what Denise said, don't get so focused on one thing or one track. Definitely be open-minded. If you're exploring an industry, explore the companies within that industry, because they all very different products and services. But within those companies, the growth opportunities are going to be very different too. And when I say growth, I don't necessarily mean promotion. I mean, make sure that you're aligning yourself with a company that encourages learning and development, promotion or otherwise. That's one of the things that I've really enjoyed about FIS. There, we have so many different arms of our businesses, and just the constant learning the new products and services, and our learning group, talent and learning group, make sure that we have a variety and an abundance of resources for ongoing learning. And that's really important, especially I've been here 15 years. So, I want to make sure that each and every day I feel like I'm learning something new. And I think that's really critical.
Right, wonderful. And then Diane.
So I'm similar. I kind of fell into this. My degree is in sociology. I never thought that I would go into human resources. I don't think I even knew what that was when I was in college. But I kind of fell into it. I became a technology recruiter, and from that moved into other areas of HR, and kind of went through technology, healthcare, finance, and even retail in my HR career. Now kind of having the melding of technology and finance together has been really fun. But for me, it's the technology aspect that I really enjoy, in working for technology companies. And I think, when I speak about our Women in IT program and how we actually speak to girls at that 7th grade level, when I share that with some other folks who are not in technology careers, they often say, wow, I wish I had someone speak to me about that when I was younger. Maybe I would have taken a different career path. And I think for myself, maybe I would have looked at technology a little bit more than I did. I had those preconceived notions and the stereotypes and everything in my mind, and really didn't look at technology as something that would be for me. And I think that had been kind of limiting. So it's fun for me to make sure that all of our youth understand that technology is such a wonderful place to be, and that there are so many different opportunities. It's not for just one type of person, and you don't have to be super technical to do so many of the roles that there are available, and that this is just really going to continue to grow, whether it be here in Jacksonville or anywhere across the globe. Our careers will continue to involve more and more technology, and as both women say, not to be limiting of yourself and feel like, well, that's not something I can do. It is something that we can all be a part of. It just might be in a different manner.
Well, thank you all. You guys, you have provided us some wonderful information this morning about what's happening in FinTech in Northeast Florida. And as you know, our goal is to position us here in Northeast Florida as the leader in FinTech opportunities and FinTech talent. So you know that we'll be calling on each of you as we continue to work on the curriculum and grow the curriculum. So this is just the beginning, not the end of the conversation. I truly want to thank you all today for joining us, sharing your time and your expertise with us. It was just a wonderful opportunity for us to learn more. So thank you so very much.